Hey, welcome either to or back to my channel. I I had like some kind of plan, but no, I don't. For this video, I mean, I got some requests though. One of you actually requested for me to talk about some of the stuff that I know about. One of them was like a coffee making tutorial. But I don't know. I don't have the stuff that I would need to make that kind of video in the way that I would want to make it. But the same person also requested that I talk about swords. I'd been going on like a nerdy ramble. And I guess I can sort of relay that here, cover it. I guess this is something like a plan. Or rather, following through on a request. This time I'm gonna try, like, not having other ASMR triggers. And normally I'll like tap on something or make some snipping sound or whatnot. But I think this time I'm gonna try only doing like self-speaking. Tell me what you think, I guess. And if you would like a follow-up a video where I speak kind of in the style of my like Sheikah blessing video, like the semi-unintelligible whisper, doing like that for the whole video. So in my nerdy ramble about swords, because I had well, I read a little bit of it before, but I didn't keep reading it, and so I started reading it again, but from the beginning. Goblin Slayer. And I remember thinking about this the first time, but then, I don't know, I ended up thinking about it more as I was rereading it. So the Goblin Slayer himself, it says this very early on, like the first few chapters. Something about like a long sword being too long and unsuitable for close combat in like a cave. And to some extent that's true. You definitely won't be taking like large arcing swings with like a long backswing. That's definitely prone to get stuck on things, but you know, usually only like beginners, like a novice sword user, will swing that way. At least in the style that I practiced. which was like Japanese, like kendo and kenjutsu. Those cuts definitely exist, but in combat, you generally don't want to make like a really long backswing. Because it's very telegraphed. You usually would do that almost as like a feint, where you telegraph your cut in order to keep the opponent like second guessing what you're going to do. But the default is to have all of that same pressure packaged in just stepping towards your opponent. And the actual mechanics of your cut is very compact. You can get a great tip speed on your sword and put your body weight into it without making a very large backswing. In fact, you can do it lifting your sword only a total of like a couple of centimeters above the target you want to strike. I guess visually probably looks something akin to like a sword version of like Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch. But you can get a very large portion of the amount of force that you would get from having a large backswing just by having proper mechanics in your smaller swing. I call that sashiwaza. Of course, in kendo, not as opposed to kenjutsu, in kendo, a lot of practitioners will hit very, very lightly. That's not to say that you have to do that. They tend to do that because kendo's been made into basically just a sport and not so much a martial art. But the martial arts roots are there, and you can definitely practice it that way. It's just a lot of people don't. So from I'd struggle to say like Eastern styles, but an Eastern style, in an Eastern style, that is one way you could deal with using a longsword in a space that doesn't allow for you to make like a wide swing besides just thrusting. And then in a Western style, of course you can do just thrusting, but more than that, you can use half swording. Where you brace the blade with one of your hands, and hold the handle with the other hand, and you can use that to both like attack and gain leverage for grappling, and that would be extraordinarily useful in like a enclosed space, like a cave. And besides that, there are plenty of other techniques that are able to be made in a compact motion. Like the Sverkau and Shilhau come to mind. If the space allows, like it's definitely not going to be as compact as half sorting. But those can have most of the arc and the angle of attack be focused in like a sort of cone, in front of the user, so you don't have to be quite so worried about something above or to the sides or behind you, although, it does take up some space. But not as much as like a really wide overhead arc. And besides thinking about specific techniques, the actual use, at least like in a large scale melee of a sword, isn't that going to be like specifically when things get really close, right? The sword is a close quarters combat weapon to begin with. So, like if you have two lines of attackers and they clash together, and let's say you're in the front line holding a spear and you can't quite pull it back because you'll hit somebody behind you. And of course you're not going to try to swing it around. The most useful weapon in that case for you would probably be the sword. The sword and shield will probably serve you better in that case than a spear and shield or a two-handed shield. I mean, when the two lines are pressed very, very compactly up against each other. The sword is actually something that was for that sort of purpose, for that use, when you're really close to the enemy. And besides that, you can use like draw cuts or push cuts against arteries and the like. And that too, that's going to take very little space. There's no backswing required. Some weird sound my esophagus. I don't know. That's my Minody ramble. Let me know if you like that kind of content. Maybe I'll talk about some other things I know, or maybe just more swords. Yeah. That'll be all for today. See you next time.